In this series of videos we are going to learn how to make a web application for the OmniCore controller from scratch. In this case we are going to create an application to control a lift kit of the company Evolix simulated in Robot Studio. This is a simplified version for didactic purposes and cannot be used in a real lift kit. In the application there is a manual control zone where pressing the up button, the lift kit will move up to its maximum position. By pressing down, the device will move to its minimum position, and by pressing stop it will stop the movement. With the Move to button, the device is moved to a user-specified position. There are two text entries where the user specifies the lower and upper limits of the mechanism. If a measurement outside this range is specified in the Move to section, an error message will be displayed. In the controller settings section, we can change the controller mode to manual or automatic, turn the motors on and off, as well as start and stop the program. Let's going to create our first project. To start in this video we are going to create the application and add the up and down buttons. First you must download the folder that is linked to this tutorial. If you open this folder you will see a pack and go file and the final version of the web app that we are going to create in this tutorial. Open the pack and go file and locate the station where you want it. In the station you will find a Cobot GoFa, an Evolix lift kit and everything you need to control it, except the FlexPendant application. When the station has been created go to the Controller tab, right-click on the Home folder and click on Open Folder. Then we create a new folder which should be called Web Apps. Inside Web Apps we create another folder called EW_1 where our project will be hosted. Finally we copy the address of this new folder. We are going to program the application in HTML plus JavaScript using the Visual Studio Code editor. Please download this editor before continuing. The next step is to go to Visual Studio Code where we will click File, Open Folder, paste the address of the EU_1 folder, and press Select Folder. Then click on New File, and create the file ew.html, where we will graphically edit our application. Another file that should be called appinfo.xml, which serves to define information needed for the OmniCore, and another called script.js, where we define the functions of the program. The next step is to download the OmniCore App SDK. For this we search in the Internet ABB Developer Center, select OmniCore App SDK and download the file. Unzip this .zip file wherever it is most convenient for you. After unzipping it, we find a documentation folder where we can find the application design guide and an OmniCore App SDK application manual, as well as 2 sample applications that you may find useful during your learning process. Next to the documentation folder, there are 2 library folders that we must copy and paste into our project folder. Next we go to Visual Studio Code and open the appinfo.xml file where we will write the following. Stop the video to copy it at ease. The structure can also be found on page 10 of the OmniCore App SDK PDF in the doc folder we downloaded earlier, or directly in the folder of the application you downloaded together with the pack and go file. In the name section we define the identifier that will be displayed in the FlexPendant, in this case, Evolix. In the next line, we define the application icon, in this case context.31.png. This is a test image located in the FP Components folder. The icons must be in 100 by 100 pixels. Finally, we define the HTML file of the application, in this case ev.html. Next, we go to the HTML file, and write the following. In the header section, we initialize the common.js and button.scora.js scripts, adding the necessary tools to display buttons, with the appropriate layout for the FlexPendant. We also add the file script.js, where we will write the functions that will be executed in our application. In the Styles section, we define the visual properties of the web application elements. These styles can also be defined in a .css file. Next, we define the title of the application, and the up and down buttons, inside a table. Now, we go to the script.js file, and define a script that will be executed when the application is loaded. With this statement, we enable the debugging console, where we will check that the buttons work and also detect errors. Next, we create a try, where we define the characteristics of the buttons. If it cannot be executed for any reason, it will show us an error in the debug console. With this line, we define an object type button called UpButton. With this other line, we join the button with an HTML identifier. Next, we define the text of the button, in this case, up. With this structure, we define that up is printed in the console after pressing the button. Finally, we create another button, called down button, in a similar way. To test our application, we apply the changes. Go to the FlexPendant. We will see our application in the start of the FlexPendant with the logo that we have determined. If we open the app, we will see two buttons, and when pressing we will see that the appropriate message is printed in the command console.